Hi guys, this is Miss Brown speaking. I want to review what we did last week. Last week, we were working with scaling and cross products to find missing values in ratios. So we're actually going to build upon those skills this week, but this time we're going to be using tables and graphs. So let's go ahead and get started. Um, the problem you see on your screen says that a farm store sells seed corn. The store charges $1.50 per pound of corn. So we're supposed to fill in the missing values in the table and explain how we found those values. So the table is over to the right. And let's make sure we read our table well and know that this first column on the left represents the pounds of corn, and then the second column on the right represents the price. All right, so let's think one more time. We know that it's $1.50 per pound. So price $1.50. That's right here. And then the pounds is 1 pound. So we have some missing values in that table. We've got to figure out what goes there. Well, let's think. To go from this dollar, or to go from to $1.50, what can we do in terms of multiplication? And the answer to that is we can multiply 1 times 1.5, and that will give us 1.5. Okay, that multiplier is really important because that's the same thing that we're going to do to the 2. We're going to take that 2 and we're going to multiply by 1.5. So what is 2 times 1.5? That's 3. So we just figured out that 2 pounds of corn will cost us $3. Now, the last missing value is a bit different because up until now we've been going from the left-hand column to the right-hand column. But to find that last value, we're actually going to have to go in the opposite direction. We're going to have to go from the right column to the left column. So that's going to require a bit of a different procedure, but not too much different. So we're not multiplying by 1.5. We're doing the reverse or the inverse of multiplication, which is actually division. So we're going to have to take the 9 and divide it by 1.5. Okay, 9 divided by 1.5 is 6. So we just figured out that for $9, we can buy 6 pounds of corn. So I did ask you to explain how you found these values, and it's totally okay with me if you go, I gave you the 2, if you just write down the math that 2 times 1.5 equals 3, that's totally fine. And I gave you the value 9, it's fine if you write 9 divided by 1.5 equals 6. Okay? All right, so the next thing we're supposed to do is to graph the points. And I don't know how much you have done before with graphing points. So I'm going to try to explain it, but if this explanation is not adequate and you're having difficulty, please let me know. Send me an email via Canvas, and maybe I can find some things to help you graph more on a coordinate plane. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at the values. So I'm getting my values out of the table. If you see right here, I've just highlighted yellow. I have the value 1, 1.5. Okay, that's just telling me on my coordinate plane or on my graph, I'm going to start at 0 and then I'm going to move to the right 1 and then I'm going to go up 1.5. That's all it's telling me to do. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start at 0. I'm going to move to the right 1. And if you notice, make sure you read your scale. This is 0, then it says 2, 4, 6, 8. So 1 is actually right in between the 0 and the 2. And also make sure you read your vertical scale. It starts at 0, 3, 6. So you're going to have to make adjustments when you graph. Anyway, I've gone to the right 1. Now I need to go up 1.5, which puts me right here. So where I end is where I'm going to put my point. All right. And you don't have to draw these arrows that I'm drawing. I'm just putting those there, hopefully to help you kind of follow how I'm thinking about things. So the next point that we have, and I'm going to highlight that point blue. Okay, maybe not. I'm going to highlight that point blue. Here goes. Let's see. There it goes. Is 2, 3. And that point is just telling me to move to the right 2 and then go up 3. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to start at 0, which is right here. I'm going to move to the right 2 and then move up 3. And where I stop, which is right here, is where I'm going to put my point. I'm going to go back and erase my lines that don't need to be there. And the next point tells us 6, 9. So that just means that I start at 0, I move to the right 6, and then I go up 9. So let's do that. I'm going to start at 0, move to the right 6, and then go up 9. And where I stop, that's where I'm going to put a point. And then I'm going to go back and erase out my lines. And so a lot of times in math, we will connect those dots. I'm actually going to connect them today. There are times when you need to connect them, times when you don't need to connect them. I'm really not going to go into that. For my class, 7th grade purposes, just go ahead and connect the dots. It's fine. So I'm going to draw a line all the way across the graph, all the way through the dots. It would be better if I used a straight edge, but it's hard to do that on my computer. So there's my line. It should be straight, but close enough. All right. So letter C tells us to follow the pattern and place 2 additional points on the graph. What do these points mean? So I'm going to place a point on the graph right now. I'll place a point right here. That line should go right here. I have a shaky hand. All right. And notice this point is 4 and 6. So that's telling me, first of all, the point is 4, 6, by the way. And yes, the 4 must come first. The 6 comes later. And that tells me that 4 pounds of corn costs $6. Okay? Let's pick another point. So this point right here. Okay? Notice that's a 10 and a 15. And the 10 must come first. the 15 later when we're writing the coordinates. Okay, so that's telling me that 10 pounds of corn costs $15. All right, so now let's take a look at just some ratio tables and how we would find missing values in those ratio tables. So for problem number 4, we have to fill in the missing values in the table. We're going to use scaling to help us, and later we're going to tell how many gallons of water are flowing per minute. So let's examine the table carefully. On the left-hand side, we have time in minutes, and on the right-hand side, we have gallons of water. All right, and if you notice, the first coordinate we have is 1, 3. Well, how do we go from 1 to 3? Or what is the multiplicative relationship between that 1 and that 3? It's multiply by 3. And that's why up here we have an arrow essentially saying that when we're going from that left-hand column to the right-hand column, we're going to multiply by 3. So we can use that relationship to help us fill out some of the missing values. For instance, right here, we've got to go from 10 to this column. And again, the only thing we have to do is to multiply by 3. So we're scaling. All a scaling is a multiplier, guys. Scaling and multiplication, same thing. Okay, so 10 times 3 is 30. So we just figured out that in 10 minutes, 30 gallons of water are going to flow. Now, the last value or missing value is going to require a little bit of a different thought process, simply because this time we're going from the right-hand column to the left-hand column. So we've got to think about this just a little bit differently. We're not going to be multiplying by 3. We're actually going to be doing the reverse of multiplication, which is division. So we're going to be dividing by 3. So we're going to take that 27 and we're going to divide it by 3, which gives us 9. And that's what goes in that column. We figured out that it takes 9 minutes for 27 gallons of water to flow. Now, don't forget to answer this question. It says, how many gallons of water are flowing per minute? Notice it says minute, not minutes. Since it says minute, they are asking you for 1 minute, not 10 minutes, not 20, but just 1. So we can look right here and we can tell that 3 gallons of water per minute are flowing. And that is the answer. So let's go to problem number 6 now. And in problem number 6, we have a table, but this time the table is horizontal and not vertical. Guys, don't let that throw you off. It's the same thing. Some people orient their tables vertically, some people horizontally. It's essentially the same thing. So please don't get confused by that. So anyway, same thing. We're filling in the missing values of the table. We're using scaling to help us. And then we're going to tell how much the worker is paid per hour. So again, first thing you want to do is just read carefully and know that the top row represents the hours worked. And the bottom row represents the pay in dollars. And let's just look at the information that they've given us. Notice that we have some missing information right here. We've got missing values in the table, and we've got missing information over here. So let's try to find a complete piece of information. And that would actually be this 10 and 120. And think, okay, well, they worked 10 hours and they got paid $120. What is the multiplicative relationship between that 10 and 120? And hopefully you know that 10 times 12 is 120. So over here, we are multiplying by 12. All right. So now that we've established the fact that we're multiplying by 12, we can use that on the 4 too. If we just take the 4 and multiply it by 12, that'll tell us how much this person gets paid for working 4 hours. 4 times 12 is 48. Okay? Now, on the 42, that's going to require a bit of a different process because we're going in the opposite direction. So this time, instead of multiplying, we're going to be dividing. We're still dividing by 12. We still need that 12. It's just that we're dividing instead of multiplying. We've actually got to figure out what is 42 divided by 12. So I'm going to do some division up here. So I'm going to put 42 here and then the 12. Okay. 12 goes in the 4 0 times, putting a 0 above the 4. 0 times 12 is 0. Subtract out. 42 minus 0 is 42. 12 can go into 42 3 times. 3 times 12 is 36. Subtract out. That gives me 6. Add a decimal. Bring it up. Add a 0. Bring it down. 12 can go into 60 5 times. 5 times 12 is 60. Subtract out. I get 0 and I'm done. This is what I need right here at 3.5. Okay. So I just pretty well figured out that for 3.5 hours of work, 3.5 is the same thing as 3.5. This person's going to earn $42. And don't forget to answer how much the worker is paid per hour. Essentially, this multiplier is telling us how much they're making per hour. We figured out that the person earns $12 per hour. All right, good luck. Bye-bye.